Please raise your hands from wherever you are. Somebody from our team will come to you. And before you ask a question, एक बार अपना नाम, एक बार अपना परिचय. For instance, if I were to ask a question, I would say, "Hi, I'm Kena Shri, Senior Manager NTPC, and my question is..." और मेरे young दोस्तों से थोड़ा सा ये गुजारिश करूँगी, you've been very patient, very kind. Kindly contain your excitement for some time more. We'd want most of the questions to get covered. So here's with ma'am. We'll begin with ma'am.
Hello.
Who has the mic?
Well,
thank you, sir.
Sir, my name is Air Marshal Ashok Goel.
Yes, sir.
Firstly, जावेरी साहब ने जो कहा कि मेरी उम्र 26 साल की है, जावेरी साहब मेरी उम्र 21 साल की है, पर मैं 55 years का एक्सपीरियंस लेके चलता हूँ.
Excellent.
Two observations.
Sir.
First is addressed to Dr. Amita Singh. I read all your WhatsApp messages where you gave the paper clippings. You included every type of professional, but you totally neglected defense personnel. Was it deliberate or by chance?
Sir, I can answer that.
No, sir. Second question is on the same planet to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
When you wanted to select your PS, you preferred to choose a man in uniform who had worked. He happens to be like my son. That's how I know everything, what happened there. He was interviewed and you selected him because you found him to be honest, disciplined, committed, and every quality a person should have in their appointment. Why he didn't continue, that is one point. In the same narration, what the ex-defense officers have done in UP, they gave you the papers. I give you a set of 3 magazines. We published it. What Congress did in first 60 years. Second was what the Congress prime ministers did in the defense of this country. And third one is on 1971 war dedicated to Indira Gandhi. Well, I've got 20 points, but I will share my last point. You mentioned a lot of problems to the country. We all are aware, and so औरों को भी दे के आना.
Thank you, sir.
So
औरों को भी देना.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for your questions. Actually, we are running.
But just hold on. Last one.
Okay, last one.
Haan.
We'll take that.
I've got 20 points, but I'm just making 3 points.
All right, sir. Please. Let's keep it this the
Last point, आ जाओ. Gupteshwar. Last point. Sir, you mentioned very detailed, and I heard one of your clippings. You're talking about the problems being faced and what all is coming short. I may share with you, I have coined this algebraic formula. What is this nation? P3C5. Actually, I was in service at that time. P3 is at national level. Population, poverty, and pollution. And when you say we have to look for demographic advantages, I personally feel, no, we are not going to see that the demographic advantages, it will prove to be a demographic disaster. You will see that, sir. Number 2, what we see is C5. C5 is political level. Corruption in politics, communalization in politics, casteism in politics, and compromises in coalition politics. And one has to take care. Your views are highly appreciated, and we thoroughly enjoyed the evening with you, sir. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Marshal Goel. I'm very touched by your remarks. As you said, 21 years old with 55 years of experience. We are honored by your service to the country. Thank you very much. On your specific questions, first, as you know, Armed services personnel are government servants by definition and therefore not eligible to join any political party. And the AIPC, despite being a body of professionals, is affiliated to, is a wing of the Congress party, and that would be the problem for them. The moment they retire, they are welcome to join, and you, sir, would be welcome to join. Amita may not have mentioned it, but it does not mean we are excluding the military. It simply means that they are most welcome to come as former military personnel. On the second question of, he is a member, there you are. On the second one of the PS, outstanding uniformed officer, the only reason that he could not continue with me is because he's continuing in service. And the voters decided I could not continue in their service as a minister. So at that point I had to go, and he was assigned to other duties. He has been bravely serving in Kashmir, and we all wish him well and safety there. On your third question about these various publications, the magazines have been given to me. I look forward to looking at it very carefully. And on your algebraic formula, congratulations, sir. The diagnosis of the problems is what your formula suggests. But we need some solutions from you too, sir. With your 55 years of experience after attaining adulthood, you must give us some solutions through the Professionals Congress that we can advance to make these problems disappear. No P3, no C5. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। मेरे प्यारे शहर लखनऊ, आपसे एक छोटी सी गुजारिश है, आप समय की परिधि को ध्यान में रखते हुए कृपया एक ही क्वेश्चन पढ़े और जितना सक्सेंट टू द पॉइंट कर सकते हैं उतना करें। हम चाहते हैं ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को मौका मिले कि वे अपने जो थॉट्स है वो हमसे साझा करें। यस मैम, प्लीज।
गुड इवनिंग डॉक्टर थरूर।
हाय।
मेरा ये एक सवाल है, थोड़ा सा अलग है, शायद यहाँ के लिए नहीं है, बट आई जस्ट वांटेड टू नो, पॉलिटिशियंस जो हैं वो बिलो द बेल्ट जाके क्यों बात करते हैं एक दूसरे के बारे में? ये जैसा आलिम ने कहा और जैसे आप सब कह रहे हैं कि हमें हमारे बच्चे देख रहे हैं, हम उनको ये नहीं दिखाना चाहते कि आप किसी को मैडम के हाथ में रिमोट है या किसी और के हाथ में कुछ है. दिस डज नॉट शो अ गुड upbringing, whatever it is, but ये चीज नहीं होनी चाहिए. What do you say?
I agree 100% with you, ma'am. I'd be happy to applaud. अगर दो हाथ free थे तो I'd be clapping with you right now. आप बिल्कुल ठीक ही कह रही हैं. Why should we be going around insulting people? There should be civilized political discourse. There should be limits. You can't use the kind of language that minister used about Ramzadeh and so on. We should actually have a civilized discourse. We have a right to disagree. मैं कह सकता हूं कि देखिए आपकी राय मेरी राय नहीं है और ये कारण पे मैं कह रहा हूं कि आप गलत बात करें, लेकिन हम कोई बेसिस नहीं है कि आपकी पर्सनालिटी, आपकी प्राइवेट लाइफ या आपकी मोरालिटी या ऐसे कुछ चीजों या आपकी माँ, आपकी बाप, आपकी भाषा के बारे में बोलने मेरे ख्याल में बिल्कुल अनडिग्निफाइड है और ये इट शोज अ लैक ऑफ तहजीब. ऑल ऑफ यू इन द यूपी शुड टीच दीज पॉलिटिशियंस कि तहजीब से और तमाम से जरा बात कीजिएगा प्लीज. I'm agreeing totally.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Let's have a question from the left wingers, and no pun intended, please.
Is there a mic here?
Please, मेरी
किसके
टीम
पास है?
थोड़ी सी चुस्ती दिखाइए आप और हमारे बाईं तरफ जो लोग बैठे हैं पीछे की ओर जाएं तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा.
Very good.
पास mic है, पूछिए.
आपका नाम?
Yusuf Khan. I'm a
जी.
national sportsman, gold medalist in UP and national guest medalist.
Sorry, which sport do you play, Yusuf ji?
I play fencing.
Wow, okay.
I'm
Great.
a coach in the university also, and the vice chairman in the Congress.
Excellent.
I'm one of the follower of you in the millions of your crowds.
Thank you.
And read your thing. But now here I hear your speech and that you said that in the government of India we must be the accountable. And you said give so many examples regarding this present government. But I am talking about that within the party, within the organization, how much accountability is needed. Because from last 32 years, because of the unaccountability, we are in the sinking down. So what is your views on it? How can we improve it? There are so many sections. Now it is AIPC. Before we have 32 cells and departments running the Congress and they are working like sinking down. There are no accountability of the people who are the chairmen or this. And you can say, you understand what I'm talking about in this platform.
No, it's a very good question to which there is no easy answer. Because, you know, part of the problem is very often it's not bad faith. It is two kinds of good intentions that are clashing with each other. As you say, no accountability, you mean that those who are not performing are not moved aside for those who can perform. And that means that you are asking the leadership to pay no attention perhaps to their loyalty or to honor their service. You're saying you should be ruthless, push them out, get other people to come in. Now, in any organization, including a political organization, there is always a balance between judging only on the basis of performance and taking into account other factors. In a political organization, that becomes all the more important. You want to definitely keep certain social interests happy, representation of certain groups and communities in your senior appointments. You want to make sure that people who have been loyal to the party in difficult times are rewarded, even if their performance may not be as good as those who have come more recently. Still, there must be respect paid for the time they were there during times of struggle. All of these factors have to be balanced. So it's an unenviable task for any president or leadership of a party to keep all these people happy. Where I think Rahul Gandhi is trying to make a difference is in increasing transparency within these mechanisms. So he may not listen to you or me about whether to appoint somebody or not appoint somebody. But he wants that person who is appointed to be able to listen to criticisms, to be accessible to people coming to hear complaints and to transmit them up the chain. So if our processes can let in more sunlight, if we can open the windows and let more breezes come into the party, then it may not matter who is sitting on which sofa, as long as all of us feel that the breeze is touching us also and we are able to get something done. I hope that answer satisfies you to this degree, that we will see more progress along the lines that you want to see, because Rahulji is quite determined to create far more accountability in the party from beneath. And accessibility, for example, has been drilled into everyone's head, that people cannot anymore afford to forget the party workers. As he said in that recent meeting in Delhi, he said, I want to tear down the walls that exist in this party between the workers and the leaders. We are all one and we shall work together as well. He means it. Let's see it happen.
Thank you so much. There's a gentleman from the middle section of
Mr.
the audience.
Tharoor,
Yes, sir.
I am Ashok Nigam. I am a senior advocate at the High Court, and I was the Additional Solicitor General during your government. And I have been member of the AICC many times, as well as founder of the NSUI and General Secretary of the Indian Youth Congress with Priyanjan Das Munshi.
Akshay.
So, what I want to, I fully share your ideas, and I have gone through many books you have written, but one question keeps on throbbing my mind, and that is, in 1947, our nation rejected two nations theory.
Exactly.
We also went for inclusive politics, as you were saying.
Yes, sir.
What happened in these 66 years? Should we not ponder what was our fault, that did we lost communication with the people of India, or what has happened that we could not understand their feelings and satisfy them, respond them, their queries are Hindutva and all this. Why? So should we not ponder that we have a responsibility towards this degeneration of mind?
I think you're right, sir. Hum sab zimmedar hain, as I said in my speech. We've all contributed in many ways to this failure. I am personally almost in disbelief that these ideas and thoughts are now there in our country. When I grew up in India in the 1960s, my parents were from the nationalist generation. My father dropped his caste name in college because Gandhiji said that you should not be bearing caste names. He and my mother, when my friends and playmates and schoolmates would come home to play, they never once mentioned the religion or caste of any of these people. I never even knew what people's religion and caste was until much later, when people made me more aware of it. I still never thought it would be a basis for judging anybody. How our country's politics has brought us to a point where not only are we aware of religion and caste, but they have become more important than the content of the character of the individual. That, I think, is very, very sad. And the only thing we can do is to hope that this is a passing phase by fighting resolutely against this kind of petty thinking, which is based on a massive inferiority complex. The people who have been trying to speak in this very narrow definition of Hindutva, first of all, are terrible Hindus because they've never understood that whole philosophy of acceptance of difference. But secondly, they are doing so on the basis of all historical resentments, based in many ways on a misreading of history. And they have the wrong idea that you can revenge yourself upon history today by punishing those who have the same identity as the ones who humiliated your ancestors in the past. That's the whole logic. It is, frankly, an extremely silly and immature way of looking at history and looking at the way in which the country should face its future challenges. I find it totally astonishing that such kind of poisonous thinking has been allowed to spread in this country in a way in which, unfortunately, as you said, we are all culpable. We have failed in these. I would say we succeeded for the first 25, 30 years of independence, but from about the mid-80s onwards, we have seen a degeneration of national discourse, and it's really to our shame. I think when I was speaking, I heard some lady's voice in the audience shout out shame, and she's right, it is a shame.
Thank you so much, sir. I see two very pretty girls and their excitement, they can barely contain their excitement to ask a question to Mr. Tharoor. Yes, please,
Hi,
go
sir.
ahead.
So my name is Shruti. We are both, this is...
And my name is Divita, and we are both master's student in English literature.
Okay,
so
where?
we
Lucknow
both have
University?
found, yes, we both have found some university in that diversity that you talk about, and we both have same concerns. So,
but we have a lack of time. So I'm going to keep it short. And I understand your views on things that I'm going to ask you about. But right now, I don't want your view and I don't want rhetoric. I want to know as to if your view is that, and if you're talking about politics of inclusiveness, how much opinion, like how much inclusive is politics itself? That has to be brought into question. So my basic question to you is that there are two things in India that I as an individual in the 21st century am concerned about. The first is AFSPA, and the second is Section 377. And I know that you have been saying amend that and amend that, but it does not happen. So how much does my voice count and how much does your voice count? I just want to know that.
Excellent.
and
Very
there's
good.
one more thing
Yeah.
that we see a problem of non-representation instead of misrepresentation. Because we have representation, but when these so-called liberal men decide what a beauty queen should look like, or what a, ideal Miss World or Miss Universe should be, or, when we see Trump's feminism and BJP's secularity in the post-truth world, we feel like we are a little disoriented chain of human beings in this, in this whole problematic scenario. So we and Shruti, we both want a particular solution to this problem that we both have thought together in this scenario. That's why.
Thank you very much. Shruti and Suniti, right?
Divita.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Shruti and Vivita. Congratulations to both of you. Those are very smart, well-articulated questions. I'm sure you do your university proud. And as you know from what you seem to know about my own views, I share your concerns on both those issues. I think that you know that in the case of 377, I even tried twice to introduce a bill that would completely read down the so-called criminal provisions of that law and not make something unnatural which God has made natural. But having said that, the irony of our situation is that people may have voted this particular party into power for other reasons, but the result is that this party has come to power with all the baggage of their beliefs and prejudices. And that is why they organized a mass of people to shout me down and to vote against the introduction of the bill, when it has never happened in Parliament. Parliament bills are routinely introduced. They may then not be debated or they may be defeated during debate. But to actually shout down the introduction of the bill as being somehow beyond the pale and to get away with it not once but twice speaks to the climate of intolerance in the country today, which is sadly a reflection, I believe, not so much of lack of inclusion in politics, but a lack of public education on the issues. I at least feel that by Losing twice, I brought a lot of attention to the issue, and at least the newspaper and website reading public are now aware of this particular issue far more than before, even though I didn't get the bill through. Now, ultimately, we are in the ironic position that what cannot be achieved through democracy, through your votes and mine, may actually be achieved through a judiciary which is not voted or elected by anybody, but which may be more liberal than perhaps the politicians who elected are. But the short answer, since you asked the question bluntly, the short answer is, it all depends on whom we elect. You might elect people who are open-minded, broad-minded, progressive, or you might elect people who are narrow-minded, petty and bigoted, and if you elect the latter, then you'll get stuck with your voice not being heard, particularly in a parliamentary system with the first past the post. Once they have a crushing majority in the Lok Sabha, nothing can get through the Lok Sabha without their approval. I have written elsewhere of my fondness for the idea of a presidential system in which the parliament would be completely independent of the executive. Right now we have the worst of both worlds. We have all the worst things of a presidential style governance in Mr. Modi, with all the advantages that he has of an automatic majority in the legislature because of the parliamentary system. So we have the worst of both. I would have preferred a system where the legislature was independent of the executive, not dependent on it and not deriving its strength from it, and able to question it. In which case you might really be able to have a meaningful debate, raise an issue, challenge it through, think it through, and then perhaps change minds. But here you can never change a mind. It's the crushing majority of the ruling party, whatever they want to pass. I have myself seen a very simple example I'll give you and then I'll stop. You can well say, what is the point? Is my voice heard? No, it's not, because I'm in the opposition. There was a very simple bill which actually had been drafted earlier, which essentially says that any factory or industry beyond a certain size has to give the workers a written copy of their rights. Very simple bill. So I got up during the introduction of the bill and said, this bill is fine, I'll support the bill, but since many workers, sadly, in many places in our country are still illiterate or semi-literate and may not understand what's written in the piece of paper in legal language, why don't you also have one word, written and oral? So they're also orally told what their rights are. And while I was speaking, I could see most of the BJP members across me nodding their heads. It made sense what I was saying. But when the time came to vote on my amendment, a whip was cracked from the BJP and they all shouted no, and out it went. So in other words, it doesn't matter what common sense you might speak in Parliament on any issue, even an issue that they don't have an ideological problem with. It was simply that they have to get their majority through, and that's the way it works. So it's a big flaw of the parliamentary system in that regard, and I'm sorry to say that you and I are not going to be able to solve it.
Good evening, sir.
Where is this voice coming
Yeah.
from?
My name is Umar Mustafa
Left.
Khan.
All right, left.
Your name is?
My name is Umar Mustafa Khan, and I'm
Hi.
from Faizabad, and I'm right now in charge of Vidhan Sabha Faizabad. So and I wrote down the question because I know I'm going to speak up in front of the legendary Shashi Tharoor.
Arey,
Mr.
arey.
Shashi Tharoor.
Ditto my
That
feelings,
is why.
Samang.
Yeah. So I wrote it. Rahul Gandhi, as we all know, Rahul Gandhi is favoring youth, and we all know that. But only those in contact or reach of Rahul Gandhi ji are getting recognized for their work for Congress. Like he's human only. Whoever he's seeing, and he's lifting them up. So, but still there are many youths at the grassroots levels who are working very hard, are still getting ignored and not getting a push to upper level because of petty politics of local leaders. So in AIPC, would we get direct recognition for our work, or will it again through these local leaders who will decide our fate?
No, I can assure you, you will get recognition. In fact, I can tell you that in one case of one of those who came up with the paper, Amita made it a point to tell me that somebody else had written the paper, but she's not here, and the representative is coming up from that chapter, but the credit should go to somebody else. So this is the spirit in which we are working. We definitely want to give credit to people, and that recognizes them. On what you said about Rahulji, you know, this is a man who's traveling now tirelessly throughout the country. He's seeing party workers at all levels. I can't believe that he will never see a worker like you. There will be an opportunity. There will be an opportunity to hear what you have to say. And he values this kind of interaction that we're just having now. I will urge him that, you know, perhaps, for example, in the AIPC, when we have our first national convention, if he'll kindly consent to doing one session like this, where any worker who comes to the convention can raise his hand, get the mic and ask him questions, he will be able to see the kind of quality of people we have. I'm confident that somebody like him who puts so much energy and time into leading the party and focusing on the organization, he will meet people across the board. It may not happen overnight, you know how these things are, but I have very, very little doubt that this is going to happen. In fact, you do know that Mr. Modi does not have an open door, but Rahul Gandhi has kept an open door right throughout in the ICC. And when he comes to the open door session, he's there himself and interacting with the audience. So let's hope that your concerns will be dispelled, but I understand them. And I know it's similar to what your colleague a few rows back had said earlier, that everyone is worried that local leaders are not giving them a chance to be heard and seen. But we will hear you and see you. And secondly, local leaders too change with time. You will be a local leader one day and then some young man will complain about you.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
हम समय की सीमा को ध्यान में रखकर 2 और questions ले सकते हैं.
Good evening, sir.
Where is this voice coming from, lady?
So many people.
Good
Please
evening,
come
sir. Mr. Tharoor,
Where are you, ma'am?
I have the impunity.
Left, right or center?
Here I am, sir.
Oh, right here. Okay.
Sir, I have the impunity of saying Tharoorisms is one of my most favorite things, and I enjoy your Facebook videos a lot.
Thank you.
And sir, besides that, my name is Ujjwala Sadana. I run a school for underprivileged children in Indranagar.
Excellent.
And I also voluntarily teach girls who are underprivileged on skill development with no aid from the government whatsoever. I do it on my own. And sir, what I have found that these marginalized people, I really like your idea of inclusiveness. How to include the most poor, the most impoverished person into the mainstream. The children whom I'm teaching, one of the boys, he sells newspapers in the morning and he comes to school. Then he repairs air conditioners. And he was having a very tough time. I don't want to give my exams. So I encouraged him, say, nahi beta, tumhe padhna hai, tumhe achhe number lane hai, tumhe aage badhna hai. He got around 70% in his boards and I was really, really happy for him. But after this, what? Does he get a job? How does the government, how does Congress, what is your agenda to provide jobs?
In fact, this is a very, very important issue. Thank you, first of all, for what you're doing for underprivileged children. But let me say that it's absolutely indispensable once people come out of the system that there should be a possibility to get meaningful jobs. I have my own ideas, but the Congress party is actually working on a very detailed paper on how jobs can be generated once the
yes, that
the
step by
government
step.
changes. I think there are some areas in particular where we will be in a position to absorb more skilled and unskilled labor. You're talking about an educated young man, that's a different
And
story.
I also have unskilled people, uneducated people,
Sure.
girls
So,
doing beauty
for example,
training.
I think if we can really invest heavily in tourism, heavily, clearing up areas, building toilets, clearing up the facilities inside, allowing more 2- and 3-star hotels, you will find that world studies have established that $1,000 invested in tourism generates 8 times as many jobs as $1,000 invested in industry. So you will actually find, for example, it doesn't take much of training or anything to hire a waiter or a busboy or a gardener's assistant or a doorman. And these people can be hired and absorbed from the economy. And then the more educated ones will also have, because there'll be more infrastructure and more people have more positions available at the managerial and other levels. So my view is that we must do this. I didn't want to answer for the party yet because the party is still working out in detail. We have a number of ideas. Some manufacturing is indispensable. Some services industries are absolutely essential. I still believe a robot can't give a good Ayurvedic massage. Okay, so you must have more of Ayurveda, wellness, all of these things that we can offer, and more tourism. But there will be ideas beyond that, and I'm hoping they'll come soon.
Absolutely, sir.
There was
We'll
a
wait for
gentleman, were
your
you the gentleman
points.
just behind her?
मेरी एक
Give him the
गुजारिश है
mic.
छोटी
He's been
सी,
so anxious.
Dr. Tharoor.
Well, my name is Sharat Pradhan and I happen to be a freelance journalist. It's been a very fruitful evening and the ideas that you've articulated so beautifully, they resonate with a large majority of this country, I believe, and especially what you pointed out, the word that you coined, the Hindu Pakistan, which is their agenda. Now, what I fail to understand, that's my one very small but significant question, is why is it that this does not resonate and it is not articulated by your party leadership in the same convincing manner as you have done?
I
It could
think
make
you're
a
being
lot,
bit
it made
unfair
a
to my
world of a
colleagues.
difference.
I think I'm being a bit unfair to my colleagues. I assure you that many would in the party would say the same things that I have said. I mean, each one would say it in his or her own style and their own way of delivery. But this message is the core message of the party as well. I spoke about it because these are things I care about, that I've written about and so on. So I really do passionately believe what I'm saying to you. But definitely I want to stress to you, this is not in any way different from what anybody else in the party would say.
But why is it that the message, the other side, they managed to get away with lies, all kinds of lies are floated, and in a very convincing manner. I mean, why is it that your services are not used in a more, please, baat kar rahe. Why is it that you are so scarce? You
I
should
hope
be,
I'm not
you should
scarce.
be more visible among the people. That's what
Thank you,
my
sir.
concern.
No, well, I am, of course, I'm an MP from Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, so I'm probably more visible there than anywhere else
Yes, certainly.
that I have to be. But it's also true that, we have a lot of good, talented, able leaders, and you must listen to all of them as well. I mean, I have my role in social media, I have my role with the professionals. I'm very happy to interact with people like you. But I think in all fairness, we must accept that in a large, diverse party, there'll be many voices. But I assure you that these core beliefs we will continue to articulate and push. And I have no desire to be scarce. In fact, if anything, people in my constituency complain I make too many speeches outside Thiruvananthapuram. And that's my problem at the moment. But thank you.
Sir, my name is Kamlakar Tripathi. I belong to Varanasi. I am an advocate. I was BHU Students Union Vice President also and related to the organization, your spokesperson. I would just raise one question relating to your book also, relating it to your book also. One book, Riot, in which your main character, Miss Hart, had a mysterious death, and your book was indicative of a communal riot in the death of that lady. And it referred to the 89 incident. Now in Kathua, and later one Asifa and Geeta, rapes are so heinous crimes, but still it was given a communal shade. And the worst part was that there was a troll on social media also, that giving it a communal aspect. And it's so disturbing. So when we claim that Congress always had an politics and of inclusiveness, then why people voted against us to the people who we also believe who believe in politics of exclusiveness, politics of separatism, it is that we were voted out of power, with the people did not show faith in us, and they showed faith in their divisive politics. Why?
Well, that's a long question and answer for us to discuss. I'll try and give you a short answer. On the first part, when you said, why did we communalize this issue? Frankly, because it was communal. It's very clear from all the accounts that have emerged of what happened in Kathua and about poor young Asifa, that the purpose of the attack and rape was not merely to satisfy the deranged lust of these people. It was specifically in order to drive the Bakarwal Muslim community out of that area, which they felt this community should not come to anymore. And they thought that by torturing and killing one of its young and vulnerable members, the others will get frightened and go away, and that is indeed what happened. So it's impossible to discuss that rape and murder without also understanding the communal motive behind it, and thereby the issue was communalized. It wasn't just a troll position. That's on the first issue. I don't know if Salman, who is Kashmiri, wants to contradict me, because no, that is essentially our understanding of what happened. On the second question of why did we still lose when we are inclusive and the others are not, I think there were a number of factors last time which came together in a perfect storm. There was, first of all, 10 years of anti-incumbency, which, whether we like it or not, is a major factor in Indian politics. When I came into Indian politics, I came having studied the statistic that said that in the US Congress, you have a 96% re-election rate.
Really?
And in the Indian Lok Sabha, you have a 26% re-election rate. So anti-incumbency is built into the DNA of Indian politics. That was the first factor. The second factor was the absolutely successful campaign of the BJP in tarnishing the Congress with the label of non-performance. It was completely unjustified, but their marketing on every means, including social media, was far better than ours. Third, there was undoubtedly the corruption issue. Once again, we all know that corruption, sadly, no party has a monopoly on virtue and no party has a monopoly on corruption. But partly because we were in power when the Anna Hazare movement reached its peak and everything else, the perception was that the mud stuck to the Congress party and not to the other guys. So that became the third major factor. The fourth major factor, all of these coming together in the same election, was price rise. International oil prices in the 10 years of UPA went up from $40 a barrel to $140 a barrel, and the rupee went from 40 rupees to the dollar to 60 rupees to the dollar. So the result was each dollar going up was costing us 50% more, and when it went up by $100, the burden became unsustainable for the government subsidy program, and therefore they inflicted the pain on the consumer, and the consumer said, fine, we'll vote against you. I myself had an exchange with a voter in my constituency who said, the next time your petrol price goes up, I'm voting BJP. And I said, do you really think things can be better under the BJP if these are international prices? But he went and voted, and of course, a year later he came back and apologized, saying, you were right, the BJP is costing us far more than when you were in power. But we got blamed for fuel price rise, and because when fuel price rise goes up, everything else goes up. And our successful rural schemes like the Manrega raise the purchasing power of the rural poor, but also raise the prices of fruit and vegetables from the agricultural areas into the cities. In every respect, we got blamed for price rise, and the people voted against us because our voter is still very price sensitive. And then the final fifth set of factors related to local issues. To take one example, the Andhra Pradesh issue, there was massive agitation for a separate Telangana. We were losing out, the house was even being paralyzed. Somebody released pepper spray in the house on this issue. We finally said, chalo chhod do, let us at least give them what they want. Then we will lose one side of the debate. Right now we're losing both. Let's get the other side of the debate happy. Unfortunately, what happened was we lost both sides. That is that we had 33 seats from the undivided Andhra Pradesh. We had 0 now in the new Andhra Pradesh, which felt that we were the ones who broke up the state. And we had only 2 in the new Telangana because the party, the TRS that had led the separatist movement for Telangana, they won the majority of the votes. So if you take each of these factors and measure their impact, that's why we lost. It had nothing to do with our inclusive message or exclusion. It had to do with a combination of factors, and this combination was devastating.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर थरूर मैं
you
राहत
so much.
इंदौरी साहब के एक सिर्फ शेर के साथ कहूंगा आपके इस पूरे उसके लिए कि आज जो साहिबे मनसब हैं सॉरी वो उनका है मुरव्वर राणा साहब का आज जो साहिबे मनसब हैं कल नहीं होंगे किराएदार हैं जाति मकान थोड़ी है और हर एक का लहू शामिल है इस मुल्क की मिट्टी में किसी के बाप का हिंदुस्तान थोड़ी है थैंक यू सर थैंक्स अ लॉट
सर ये राहत इंदौरी साहब का ही है आप शुरू में सही थे जी बहुत शुक्रिया I can see a lady in blue she has been standing for not less than 15 minutes please kindly give the mic to her
Speak now.
seriously वो इतने ठहराव के साथ शांति के साथ
Salim
बहुत
Saab.
देर से
I'll answer all the questions, don't worry. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm Shatakshi Singh, currently a student of Masters in English Literature. My question to you is, if I may ask, where would you place the Constitution in the hierarchy of the Indian government?
Where is the place for the Constitution?
At the Supreme, I think.
It's the supreme thing,
Supreme
absolutely, yeah. It's the Constitution that
Yes.
creates the institutions
The
of Parliament,
legislature,
of the
the
Prime
judiciary
Minister,
and the
of the
executive.
judiciary, everything.
Yes, sir. So, then why may I ask that most of the literate people of the country, for them the Constitution is nothing but a word. And don't you think that the Constitution should be within the reach of every common man, everyone studying in schools, and what are your thoughts on it?
I would 100% agree with you. In fact, it's not at all a bad idea that every school should have a course, maybe for kids after class 8 or maybe 9, where they would be taught the essential principles of the Constitution and given a free copy. I think I would certainly, if I have a chance to be involved in education in the government in future, I will certainly recommend you a very good suggestion. Thank you.
those were golden words Mr. Salim your question
Yeah.
please after which the lady in blue please go ahead
Yeah. Good evening, Dr. Tharoor.
Good evening, sir.
It's a very hard-earned question. My name is Khan. But of
And
course,
I'm not a terrorist.
yes, I'm not a terrorist. But my other name is what the lady said, that's Salim. I am an engineer. I work for telecom industry, that is Idea to be precise, which is going through a turmoil, as you all know, and it's probably the industry which is going through the most of turmoil. But my question is not for that. My question is for 2019. You pointed out to certain things which may happen if the present party continues in power. Now, I want to know from you, with a little background, that in their best of times and your worst of times, they still got 32% vote. With some NDA partners, they got about 40, 42. Most
Not
of
even,
these,
but-
not even that, but most of those parties were also parties who didn't believe in their ideology,
That's
but
exactly
they, they wanted power also. Those 32% or 30%, including friends like yours and my friends also, who would never vote for them, but they got carried away. So probably their genuine vote share would be about 24, 25. Now, even if we
No, sir,
presume,
less.
or maybe less.
19, 20.
But even if we presume that next time on also it is 30, 32, what are you going to do to, as a leader, you are the only national party in the rest of the crowd,
Correct.
to make sure that those 58 or 60% votes are transformed into victory. That is, you are able to either singularly or together get the country out of this present predicament.
Sir, you're absolutely correct. And let me just come back to your premises. First, they won 31%. If you have to judge the core Hindutva vote, the best example would be the election of 2009. Because in 2004, there was still a bit of a personal vote for Vajpayee. And in 2014, there was a strong personal vote for Modi and for the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas message. I have been the CEO of Gujarat Inc. I will develop India. That message attracted a certain percentage. So the core Hindutva vote was the election of 2009, where the BJP ran brazenly on a Hindutva platform. They got 19%. So I would say that even allowing for certain shifts and influences and the success of their propaganda, 2021 is the natural ceiling for the core Hindutva vote. There is a development factor that accounts for the rest. And that development factor required performance to sustain. If Mr. Modi had concentrated on development for 5 years, who knows, he might be invulnerable in 2019. But because he allowed instead the forces of intolerance of free reign and development failed, and there has been no constructive progress on any economic ground, and there has been a drop in the GDP growth by 2.2%, I don't see much prospect of people voting for him on the development argument. There may be other arguments, but that argument is not going to wash. So I'm fairly confident. Now, your second part of your question is about the opposition coming together. And there, you know, there are calculations that will be made by every political party, including ours. I can't stand here and give you an assurance that the opposition will necessarily be united. Not only because there are decisions yet to be taken, but also because the reality in each state varies. I mean, the reality in Bengal is not the same as the reality in UP, is not the same as the reality in Bihar, and is not the same as the reality in Kerala. There will be pre-election alliances and there'll be a lot of post-election alliances. And we must understand that it's not a simple thing of 31 for the BJP, therefore the 69 get together and they can win, because very often the differences within the 69 are quite serious and cannot be discounted. In Bengal, for example, it's very clear Trinamool wants to lead an anti-BJP front. But both the Communists and the Congress, who are also anti-BJP, are their principal opponents in Bengal. In Kerala, we are in a sort of mortal combat with the Communists. But tomorrow, if the BJP is defeated and there is a chance to form a non-BJP government, those same Communists will probably support a Congress-led government. So it's very complicated. On a state-by-state basis, you have to see. And that's why I don't want to give you a simple answer. Let me say that I believe, as we have seen in UP with Mayawati and Akhilesh, that there is a genuine awareness and consciousness on the part of the opposition that it is important to be as united as possible against the might of the BJP. And that message is definitely widely heard and widely understood.
Yeah, thank you so much. ये आखिरी round
I'll
है.
just add a bit.
Yeah, all right.
देखिए मई 16 2014 को जब इलेक्शन हुआ तो मैं AICC हेडक्वार्टर्स पे सुबह के 7 बजे से शाम की 11 बजे तक मार खाता रहा टीवी पे. मैं स्पोक्सपर्सन मैंने सोचा जो जो बातें हो रही थी, मोदी जी ने जो बोला था, बीजेपी का जो मैनिफेस्टो था, मैंने कहा सलमान ये तो 10 साल से पहले निकलने वाले नहीं है, इनका तो बड़ा जबरदस्त प्रोग्राम है। लेकिन मैं आपको कहता हूँ 4 साल के बाद हम बैठे हैं, मुझे खुद यकीन नहीं आता। 8 महीने पहले भी मुझे यकीन नहीं आता, अब तो बिल्कुल यकीन नहीं आता कि क्या हुआ। 2019 का इलेक्शन वाइड ओपन है। जो इन्होंने वादे किए थे वो जब पूरे नहीं हुए, इन्होंने खुद ही काफी गलतियां की। और मैं आपको कहता हूं, जो एक यूपी इलेक्शन के बाद लग रहा था बस 2019 तो खत्म हो गया, 2019 खत्म नहीं हुआ। 2019 is wide open. I'm telling you, throughout the country we are saying it. कोई मायूसी की बात नहीं है, ये जंग जारी है और जंग होगी और हम पूरा लड़ेंगे और जीतेंगे। ये कह दीजिए आप योगी जी से भी और मोदी जी से भी।
मैं एक निवेदन करना चाहूंगी। उत्साह मुझे महसूस हो रहा है, सवाल बहुत आ रहे हैं, लेकिन डॉक्टर थरूर की कुछ और भी अपॉइंटमेंट्स आज लखनऊ शहर में हैं, तो ऐसा ना हो कि हम खुश हो जाए और कोई दुखी हो जाए। तो एक अंतिम सवाल, और वो भी दिस लेडी हैज कम इन फ्रंट। अच्छा, 2 सवाल और ले लेते हैं, एंड आई थिंक वी एंड दिस ऑन अ वेरी हैप्पी नोट।
Good evening, Dr. Tharoor.
Good evening.
All right. We've been talking a lot about politics and propaganda and constitution and numbers. My name is Tuti, by the way, and I am a humanitarian. So my question is a little existentialist, but since you are a visionary, so your opinion will matter a lot. Now we've been talking about the policies.
You said you're a Unitarian.
Humanitarian.
A humanitarian.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
So since we've been discussing the building of the nation here
Right.
this evening. How can one evoke the sense of individual responsibility? Because no matter which government is in the power, no matter which government is in the state, in the center, it ultimately boils down to an individual's realization of his or her responsibility, which I feel is lacking especially in our state, sir. I'll be very honest. We do not know where not to spit. We do not know where not to litter. Those are minor things that can make a very major difference in the longer run. So how does one inculcate that sense of individual responsibility?
You know, it takes a generation sometimes to do that, and we have failed. We've failed over 3 generations since independence to do that. Civic responsibility is sadly lacking. In fact, it's partly a flaw in our own culture that we are extremely conscious of our own selves and our own families and are completely indifferent to the well-being of the rest. I've written about this. There's an essay called The Bond That Threatens, which was published by The Hindu more than a decade ago, for which you can Google and see. And I found this from my own personal experience and those of my parents and so on. You know, you'll have the Indian, living in an immaculate home and bathing twice a day, who will step out, as you say, and throw litter on the street or spit on the wall, who will not care about the common spaces, will not care about what's going on the sidewalk. And this is somehow a deep flaw which has, unfortunately, not been addressed by those in authority in civic areas. In fact, when it comes to those in authority, we have been pretty bad at things like municipal waste management, sanitation issues, drainage issues. And as people have got used to lower and lower standards, things that even used to work well in some places no longer work well. I mean, I remember Bombay and Trivandrum as very clean cities in my childhood. Neither any longer is. And these are all reflections of a continual slipping of standards when it comes to things like the management of public space and civic responsibility. So what do? We create some... There I will say the Prime Minister did a good job in talking about Swachh Bharat. But because it was not accompanied by follow-through in specific projects, and it became very quickly reduced to photo ops and tokenism, it no longer was a viable thing to do. I mean, it no longer became something that made a difference. If we had had a sustained campaign, literally every day, of genuine work to actually clean up the country, people would have bought into the project. For a while, briefly did. There were stories of kids berating their parents for throwing a plastic bottle out of the window of their car and so on. But that quickly died out. And it's sad because we can use kids as instruments of social change. We've seen this in the anti-tobacco campaign. Teaching children that tobacco is bad and that smoking can kill and so on actually affected adults. Because children would go home and throw away their mother's or father's cigarette packet. And the result now, those children have become adults after about 20 years of this campaign, and they don't smoke anymore, and smoking has gone down dramatically in India. So these are the kinds of things where you can influence social change. Perhaps we can also influence behavioral change in the same way.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. हम डॉक्टर अमिता सिंह के द्वारा की गई विनती का मान रखेंगे और ये आखिरी क्वेश्चन लेंगे. देयर इज अ लेडी. ये आपका लास्ट क्वेश्चन है, समय की सीमा को ध्यान में रखते हुए.
Thank you. First of all, my congratulations to the entire team for having conducted it so well. And I am Dr. Surita Karim. I belong to Gorakhpur. I am a professional gynecologist, an IVF specialist. My husband is a surgeon, and we are avid Congress supporters for last so many years. And I was very happy when we came up with this idea of professionals for Congress. I want to just point out, because the doctors are facing a big dilemma in our city, in UP as well. The recent comment by our Prime Minister when he was in London to speaking very ill about the doctors, that has created literally waves of resentment against the present government. And I want you all to, like the team, to come up with something, some idea, so that these doctors, because mostly what Yogi ji in my city was doing was that the IMA was totally in his, like all the doctors were visiting his hospital, and they were paying, like doing free service in his hospital, just out of sheer respect and fear and whatever you may call it. But this time, the sentiment has gone the opposite way, because the way he has derided everybody publicly, saying that these jaunts are for just their holidaying. And I can tell you that doctors go for conferences and they bring back valuable inputs, and our medical services have improved considerably. I'm sure Indra Hinduja would not have been able to make the first test tube baby if she had not gone for a conference abroad any time in her life. So these are the things we have to speak up. And I wish you all to provide a platform for the doctors community. It is a very important and viable opinion makers community. And if this can be addressed in some way by a special kind of WhatsApp groups or social interactions, then maybe what I want to know, how we are going to address these issues in future.
I'm going to ask Amita to tell you what the UP Professionals Congress is doing, but I would urge you to join and give us your ideas. The point is that you are already there. We have, in fact, here a report, one of the 5 reports given to me was on the healthcare situation here. And Amita, you might want to add a word about how you can take this forward, because she's raised an important issue that affects all the doctors of UP, but broadly all the doctors of India, I think, would be interested. And we could certainly bounce ideas off others too.
Yes, since you talked about doctors and you want to express your opinions. एक मिनट, इनका जवाब तो हो जाए. So I would request you to, come forward, and I would certainly get in touch with all of you. We can work on this, and we would love you to give us your opinions on the AIPC. So मैं ज़रूर आपसे संपर्क करूँगी, खुद करूँगी, and we would take this forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.